weaver of reflections. The journey from Phnom Penh back to my family's village near Siem Reap always feels like traveling through time. The endless cityscape of concrete and roaring motos slowly gives way to a sea of emerald green, the rice paddies stretching out to touch a horizon that trembles in the humid air. The scent of exhaust is replaced by the sweet, earthy smell of wet soil and blooming frangipani. This time, the trip felt different. It was for Pichum Ben, the festival of the ancestors, a time when the gates of the underworld are said to swing open, a time for respect, for offerings, for remembering. Our family home stands on stilts, its dark teak wood weathered by 100 monsoons. It's a house that breathes, that groans in the night and sighs in the midday heat. As I climbed the familiar wooden stairs, my mother greeted me with a warm embrace that smelled of jasmine rice and cooking smoke. My younger sister, Lynn, bounced on her toes, eager to hear stories of the city. For a few hours, everything was as it should be. The comforting chaos of family, the clatter of pots from the kitchen, the lazy drone of a gecko on the wall. It was the feeling of home, a feeling I had desperately missed. That evening after the meal, my great-aunt, Yi Esre, called me to her room. She is the oldest in our family, a woman whose face is a beautiful map of wrinkles, each line telling a story I couldn't read. Her room was at the back of the house, always cooler than the rest, perpetually smelling of medicinal herbs and the faint, sweet scent of old incense. She sat on a woven mat, a large, intricately carved wooden chest before her. "Saria," she said, her voice thin and reedy, like dry leaves skittering across stone. "You are a woman now working in the big city, but you must not forget the old ways. You must not forget the ancestors." She motioned for me to come closer. With slow, deliberate movements, she opened the chest. The air that escaped was cool and carried the scent of camphor and something else, something ancient, like dust from a forgotten temple. Inside, nestled on a bed of yellowed silk, was a Sampot hall, but it was unlike any I had ever seen. The silk was the color of the midnight sky, and woven into it were threads of the purest gold. They formed elaborate, swirling patterns of mythical birds and lotus flowers so detailed they seemed alive. The craftsmanship was breathtaking, something from the time of kings. "This was my grandmother's," Yi Esre whispered, her eyes fixed on the cloth. "It has been in our family for generations. It is for a woman of great beauty, of strong spirit. For Pichum Ben, when you go to the Wat to make offerings, you will wear it. You will honor our ancestors, and they will see our family's strength through you." I was speechless. It was the most beautiful garment I had ever seen. I reached out a hesitant hand to touch it. The moment my fingers brushed the fabric, a strange sensation shot up my arm, a coldness that was so profound it felt like dipping my hand into ice water. I flinched back. Yi Esre's dark eyes flickered towards me, but she said nothing. "It has been stored for a long time," she said simply. "It only needs the warmth of a person to live again." The warmth of a person. Her words hung in the still air, heavy and strange. But the beauty of the Sampot was too captivating. I thanked her, my voice trembling slightly, and carried the heavy, cold bundle of silk back to my room, trying to ignore the deep, unsettling chill that had settled in my bones. That night I couldn't sleep. The symphony of the countryside, usually a lullaby, sounded menacing. The rhythmic chirping of the cicadas felt like a countdown. The croaking of frogs in the paddies below sounded like guttural warnings. The air in my room was thick and still, heavy with the scent of the damp teak walls and the phantom smell of camphor from the silk. I laid the Sampot out on my bed. In the weak moonlight filtering through the wooden shutters, the gold threads seemed to gather the light, shimmering with an unnatural luminescence. They didn't just reflect the light, they seemed to drink it, to hoard it. Driven by a compulsion I didn't understand, I got up. I had to see how it looked. I had to feel it against my skin. I unwrapped my krama and stood before the old, tall mirror in the corner of my room. The glass was clouded with age, its surface streaked with dark veins of tarnish, like a clouded memory. I lifted the Sampot. The silk was impossibly heavy, and the coldness was even more intense now. It felt alive. As I wrapped it around my waist, the fabric didn't settle like normal cloth. It clung. It enveloped my skin not like silk, but like the damp, fibrous roots of a banyan tree, coiling and holding on. A shiver, completely unrelated to the room's temperature, racked my body. I stood there looking at my reflection. The Sampot was undeniably magnificent. It transformed me. The intricate patterns swirled around my legs, the gold threads pulsing with a faint, rhythmic glow in time with the cicadas outside. With every pulse, I felt a tiny wisp of my own body heat being drawn into the fabric, a strange, leaching sensation. The stolen warmth seemed to feed the shimmering threads, making them glow brighter, while my own skin felt colder, my reflection a shade paler. My eyes in the mirror looked different, deeper, more hollow. The woman staring back at me was Soria, but a version of her that was tired, drained, her vitality dimmed. The longer I looked, the more pronounced the change became. It was like watching a flower wilt in fast motion. Then it happened. In the dark glass, the woman wearing the silk smiled. It was a slow, subtle curve of the lips, a smile of satisfaction, of triumph. But my own lips, the lips on my real face, remained frozen. They were parted slightly, a silent scream trapped behind them. I tried to move, to cry out, to tear the clinging fabric from my body, but I was paralyzed. My muscles wouldn't respond. I could only watch, a prisoner in my own skin, as the reflection's smile widened, revealing teeth that weren't mine. Her eyes, my eyes, crinkled in the corners with a cruel, ancient amusement. And as I stood there, rooted to the spot, I felt the cold spread from the silk, up my spine into my heart. It was a coldness that didn't just chill the body, but the soul itself. The reflection raised a hand, my hand, and traced the line of her jaw, her movements fluid and graceful, while my own arm hung limp and heavy at my side. She was in control, and she was just getting started. The paralysis broke as suddenly as it had begun. I gasped, a ragged, desperate intake of air, and stumbled backward away from the mirror. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. I looked at my reflection again. It was just me. My face was pale, my eyes wide with terror, my lips trembling. The smile was gone. It was just my own frightened face staring back at me. But I knew what I had seen. It wasn't a trick of the light. It wasn't my imagination. With frantic, clumsy fingers, I unwrapped the Sampot. The moment it was free of my body, the oppressive cold lessened, and warmth began to seep back into my limbs. The silk pooled on the floor, a circle of shimmering darkness. It looked inert, just a beautiful piece of fabric, but I could still feel its phantom touch on my skin, a cold, damp caress. I quickly folded it, my hands shaking so badly I could barely manage the task. I refused to look at it directly, focusing on the edges, the folds, avoiding the gleaming, watchful patterns. I shoved it back into the cloth bag it came in and hid it deep inside my suitcase, burying it under all my other clothes, as if that could contain its malevolence. That night's sleep was a battlefield. I was plagued by disjointed, vivid nightmares. I saw a pair of slender hands, not my own, weaving on a loom in a dark room. The rhythmic clack of the shuttle was like the ticking of a clock. The hands were weaving with gold thread, their movements mesmerizing, impossibly fast. I could feel the weaver's emotions as if they were my own, a deep, consuming pride, a fierce love, and then a searing, soul-shattering betrayal. I saw flashes of a grand court, of Apsara dancers with their serene smiles and intricate gestures. I saw the face of a handsome man, his eyes full of promises. Then I saw his face turn away, his hand in the hand of another woman. The pride turned to humiliation. The love curdled into a venomous hatred. The last dream was the clearest. I was the weaver. My heart was a stone of cold fury in my chest. I sat at the loom, tears mixing with the sweat on my brow. With every thread I wove into the midnight silk, I poured in my pain, my anger, my desire for vengeance. I wasn't just weaving a pattern, I was weaving a curse. I was weaving myself into the cloth, creating a vessel for my spirit, an echo that would endure, that would never be forgotten, that would never be cast aside again. I wove a hunger into it, a need to feel the warmth of life, the beauty of a youthful body, the very things that had been stolen from me. The final pattern was a flower with a thorny, coiled stem, a beautiful trap. And as I tied the final knot, I whispered a name into the fabric. But the name was lost in a rush of wind as I woke up, drenched in a cold sweat, the dream whisper echoing in my ears. The next morning I felt exhausted, as if I hadn't slept at all. There were dark circles under my eyes. My mother noticed immediately. "Sorry, Aun, you look so tired," she said, placing a cool hand on my forehead. "Are you feeling sick? Maybe the city life is too much for you." "I'm fine, Mac," I lied, forcing a smile. "Just a long trip and bad dreams." How could I tell her? How could I explain that the family heirloom Yi Esray had given me was wrong, that it was haunted by a vengeful spirit? She would think I was being disrespectful, or worse, that I was going crazy. In our culture, you don't question the gifts of your elders. You don't speak ill of things tied to the ancestors. Throughout the day, I tried to act normal. I helped my mother prepare the offerings for the Wat, meticulously folded banana leaves filled with sweet sticky rice, fruits, and cakes. But my mind was elsewhere. I felt a constant, gnawing anxiety. I kept glancing towards my room, where the Sampot lay hidden in my suitcase. I felt like it was watching me, waiting. My younger sister, Lynn, was the only one who seemed to sense my unease. She was 16, caught in that space between childhood belief in spirits and teenage cynicism. "Bong Soria, are you okay?" she asked me quietly as we sat on the veranda, weaving jasmine flowers into garlands. "You keep looking over your shoulder. Are you afraid a Priyas is going to snatch you?" she teased, using the word for ghost. I looked into her innocent, curious eyes and felt a sudden urge to confide in her. "It's the Sampot," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "The one from Yi Esray." I told her everything. About the coldness, the pulsing threads, the reflection in the mirror that smiled when I couldn't. I expected her to laugh, to tell me I was being dramatic. Instead, her playful expression faded, replaced by a look of genuine concern. "Yi Esray is different, Bong," she said slowly. "She talks about things, about debts that must be paid. She says some spirits aren't content with offerings. She says they want what they lost." A cold dread washed over me. Debts that must be paid. They want what they lost. The words echoed Yi Esray's own cryptic phrase. It only needs the warmth of a person to live again. That afternoon, I knew I had to face my gray tan. I found her sitting in her usual spot, her back ramrod straight, her hands resting in her lap. She looked as ancient and unmoving as the stone statues at Angkor. "Yi Esray," I began, my voice shaking slightly. "The Sampot, it's very beautiful, but I cannot wear it." Her eyes, dark and sharp, snapped to my face. "Cannot or will not?" It feels wrong," I stammered. "It's cold, and when I wore it I saw something in the mirror." A long, heavy silence stretched between us. The only sound was the buzz of a fly near the ceiling. I expected her to scold me for my foolishness, for my disrespect. Instead, a thin, tight smile touched her lips. It was a smile completely devoid of warmth. "The mirror shows what is true," she said, her voice a low hum. "The Ning Esray S. Rose, the beautiful lady, who is woven into the silk, she has been sleeping for a long time. She is lonely. She chose you, Saria. She sees your beauty, your spirit. She wants to share it." Ning Esray S. Rose. The name felt like a shard of ice in my chest. The beautiful lady. It was a title, not a name. "Share it," I whispered, horrified. She controlled my reflection. She smiled at me. "She is admiring her new home," Yi Esray said, her voice flat, matter of fact. "Our family has owed her a debt for many generations. Her spirit has protected this house, kept it prosperous. But protection has a price. Every few generations, she needs to feel alive again. She needs to borrow a vessel. It is a great honor." My blood ran cold. This wasn't a blessing. It was a sacrifice. I was the payment for a debt I never knew existed. "No," I said, my voice rising. I won't be a part of this. I won't wear it. Yi Esray's smile vanished. Her face hardened into a mask of cold disapproval. You are a foolish girl blinded by modern ways, she hissed. You do not refuse a spirit. You do not break a pact. She is already connected to you. You wore her skin. Refusing her now will only make her angry, and you do not want to see the beautiful lady when she is angry. Her words were a threat, and I knew with chilling certainty that she was right. I had already let the spirit in. I had worn her skin. I fled from her room, my heart pounding with a terror so pure it left no room for any other emotion. I ran to my own room and threw open my suitcase, pulling out the bag containing the Sampot. I had to get rid of it. I had to burn it. I carried it downstairs and out behind the house to the place where we burned our rubbish. My hands trembled as I took out the silk. It was cold, so cold even in the blistering afternoon heat. I tossed it onto a pile of dry leaves and coconut husks. I fumbled with a box of matches, my fingers feeling numb and clumsy. The first match fizzled out. The second one flared to life. As I leaned in to touch the flame to the cloth, a sudden, powerful gust of wind roared through the clearing, extinguishing the flame and sending leaves scattering. The air grew still and unnaturally cold. I looked down at the Sampot. The gold threads were glowing, a fierce, angry red like hot embers. The intricate patterns of flowers and birds seemed to be writhing, twisting into shapes that looked like grasping hands and screaming faces. I tried to light another match, but my hand was seized by an invisible force. My fingers pried open, the matchbox falling to the ground. A voice whispered directly into my ear, a woman's voice, silken and cold. You are mine. I screamed and scrambled backward, falling to the ground. The Sampot lay there, glowing faintly, looking once again like a simple piece of fabric. But I knew it was anything but. I had tried to destroy it, and it, or she, had fought back. Yi Esray was right. I had made her angry. That night things escalated. The separation between my world and hers began to dissolve. I lay in bed, feigning sleep, listening to the house settle. Around midnight, I heard a faint sound from the corner of my room, a soft, silken rustle. I slowly opened my eyes. The Sampot was no longer in the suitcase where I had thrown it. It was draped over the back of a chair, perfectly arranged as if on display. The gold threads pulsed with a soft, steady light, like a sleeping creature's heartbeat. As I watched, paralyzed with fear, a shadow detached itself from the Sampot. It was vaguely human-shaped, but it was made of shifting darkness and the shimmering gold light from the threads. It glided silently from the chair to the foot of my bed. It had no face, but I could feel its gaze on me, cold and possessive. It reached out a long, shadowy hand. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for a touch that I knew would feel like death. But it didn't touch me. Instead, it glided past my bed, towards the old, tarnished mirror. I forced myself to look. The shadow stood before the mirror, and in the clouded glass it had a reflection. It was the reflection of a woman, ethereally beautiful, dressed in the magnificent Sampot. Her skin was flawless, her hair a cascade of black silk adorned with jasmine. It was the woman from my dreams, the weaver, the Ning Esray S. Rose. She looked at her own reflection with an expression of profound longing, of deep sorrow. She raised a hand to touch the glass, her fingers stroking the image of her own face. And then, her gaze shifted in the mirror, her eyes locking directly onto mine. The sorrow vanished, replaced by a cold, hard glare of ownership. Her lips curved into that same triumphant smile. She was no longer just borrowing my reflection, she was building her own. She was using the mirror as a gateway, a canvas. And she was using my life force, my stolen warmth, as the paint. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. She didn't want to possess me, she wanted to replace me. She was creating a new, perfect version of herself in the mirror world, and to do it she had to drain the original, me. The paler I became, the more hollow my eyes grew, the more vibrant and real she would become in her world of glass. Eventually, there would be nothing left of me. I would be a faded copy, and she, the reflection, would be the true one. I had to find help. Yi Esray was a part of this curse, and my parents wouldn't understand. The next morning, feigning a sudden illness, I begged my mother to take me to the Kru Khmer, the traditional healer who lived in a village a few kilometers away. I knew it was my only chance. Lo Kru's house was small, filled with the pungent, cloying smells of dried herbs, incense, and something else, something metallic and sharp. Amulets, bundles of dried roots, and faded saffron cloths hung from the rafters. He was an old man with eyes that seemed to look right through you, seeing the sickness not in your body but in your spirit. He listened to my frantic story without interruption, his face impassive. When I finished, he lit a candle and stared into the flame for a long time. "This is an old spirit," he finally said, his voice raspy. "A powerful one bound by a promise and a betrayal. She is not a ghost. She is an echo that has learned how to feed. The Sampot is her body and the mirror is her door." He confirmed my worst fears. The spirit was siphoning my essence, my pralung. Every moment the Sampot was near me, the connection grew stronger. "Can you remove it?" I begged, tears streaming down my face. "Can you break the curse?" "Breaking it is not possible," he said gravely. "The curse is woven into the threads. To destroy the cloth now, with your life force so entwined with it, would be to destroy you as well. We cannot break the connection, but we may be able to lock the door." He explained the ritual. It was dangerous. We would have to lure the spirit into a state of dormancy, essentially tricking her into a deep sleep within the fabric. It would require offerings, powerful chants, and a focus of will from me that he warned would be agonizing. I would have to face her, mind to mind, and sever the link she had forged with my reflection. The ritual was to take place in my room that very night, the place where the connection was strongest. Lo Kru arrived after sunset, carrying a bag of his implements. He instructed my worried family to stay downstairs, to not interfere no matter what they heard. He placed the Sampot in the center of the floor. He drew a circle around it with blessed chalk, placing candles at 4 points. He gave me a string of prayer beads and had me sit just outside the circle, facing the mirror, which he had covered with a saffron cloth. "When I tell you," he instructed, his voice low and urgent, "you will look into the mirror, you will see her. Do not look away. Do not show fear. You must find your own reflection behind hers. You must hold on to it. You must convince your own soul that you are the real one. She will fight you for it." His chanting began, a low, hypnotic drone that filled the room. The air grew heavy and cold. The candle flames flickered wildly, casting dancing, distorted shadows on the walls. I could feel her presence growing, a palpable weight in the room, a pressure against my eardrums. The Sampot in the center of the circle began to glow, the gold threads emitting a cold, silver light. "Now, Saria," Lo Kru commanded, "look now." With a trembling hand, I reached out and pulled the cloth away from the mirror. She was there. She wasn't a reflection anymore. She was standing in the mirror as if it were a room. The image was sharp, clear, and terrifyingly three-dimensional. She was wearing the Sampot and she was magnificent. She turned slowly and smiled at me, a smile of pure malice. "You think this old man can save you?" Her voice echoed in my mind, sweet and venomous. "You are already mine. You are just a fading shadow." Behind her, I could see my own reflection, faint and transparent like a ghost. My face was gaunt, my eyes sunken and filled with despair. She was right. I was fading. "Fight her," Lo Kru's voice boomed from somewhere far away. "Claim your face, claim your life." I stared into my own ghostly eyes in the mirror, trying to pour all of my will, all of my desire to live into them. "I am Soria. I am real. This is my body. This is my life." The woman in the mirror laughed, a soundless, chilling laugh that shook my soul. She raised her hand, and in the reflection, my own ghostly image flinched in pain. I felt a sharp, stabbing agony in my chest. She was attacking my spirit directly. The room grew colder. A wind howled through the shutters, knocking over one of the candles, plunging a corner of the room into darkness. Locru's chanting grew louder, more frantic. I could feel my consciousness slipping, the world turning gray. Her beautiful, triumphant face was the last thing I saw, her eyes glowing like hot coals. She was winning. But then I saw something else. In the reflection behind my own terrified, fatting face, I saw my family. My mother, my father, my sister Lynn. They weren't really there, they were just memories, feelings. I saw Lynn's teasing smile, I felt my mother's warm embrace. They were my anchors, they were my reality. A surge of strength born of love and desperation flooded through me. I focused on Lynn's face. I will not leave you. I glared at the spirit in the mirror, my fear replaced by a cold, hard rage that mirrored her own. You will not have me, I snarled, the words spoken in my mind with all the force I could muster. The spirit's smile faltered for the first time. She looked surprised. In that split second of hesitation, I pushed with all my might, focusing on my own pale reflection, willing it to become solid to push her back. The image in the mirror wavered like a reflection in disturbed water. The beautiful lady's form flickered, and for a moment I saw the raw, ancient pain on her face, the pain of the betrayal that had created her. It is done, Locru roared, throwing a handful of sacred water at the mirror. The glass hissed as if struck by acid. The image of the spirit shattered into 1,000 pieces, and the sampot on the floor flared with a blinding golden light before going completely dark. The cold receded, the wind died, and silence fell upon the room. I collapsed, utterly spent, my body feeling like a hollow shell. The ritual had worked, or so we thought. We locked the sampot in the old carved chest from Yi Esray's room, wrapping it in cloths blessed by the Cru Khmer and sealing the lid with sacred yantras. My great-aunt refused to look at me, her face a mask of cold fury. The debt, it seemed, was now unpaid. I returned to Phnom Penh a week later, but I was not the same. I am perpetually cold now, a chill that no blanket or warm drink can ever seem to touch. I am weaker, easily tired. The doctor says I am anemic, but I know the truth. A part of my life force, my warmth, is forever woven into those gold threads, locked away in that dark chest. I avoid mirrors. Whenever I can, I turn them to the wall or cover them. But sometimes I catch a glimpse of myself when I'm not expecting it. In the reflection of a shop window, the dark screen of my phone, a puddle of water after the rain. And sometimes, just for a fraction of a second, I see her. My reflection's eyes will flicker with an intelligence that is not my own. A subtle, knowing smile will touch her lips. She is still there on the other side of the glass, waiting. She is patient. She knows the chest will not remain locked forever. She knows that one day another girl in my family will be told of the great honor of the beautiful heirloom. The weaver is always waiting for a new thread. So if you are ever in an old house and you are offered a gift from the past, something of breathtaking beauty, be careful. Be careful of things that feel cold to the touch. Be careful of things that seem to shimmer with a light of their own. And whatever you do when you wear it, do not look in a mirror, because what you see might not be you, and the person staring back might not want to give you your reflection back.